Hey guys, I am Father Matthew Dunn. I'm happy to be here with you to talk to you today about the Eucharist. And so I wanted to kind of talk about what the Eucharist is, whether you've heard that word before or not, but maybe you know it as communion, maybe you know it as when you just go up at St. Margaret during Mass with your parents and you cross your arms over your chest if you haven't made First Communion yet. But what is communion? What is this that we talk about, the Eucharist, this fancy little white circle that Father holds up and the bells ring? What is this fancy cup that we hold up? What's inside of it? And so what I'm going to talk to you about today is exactly that. So what the Eucharist is this very special gift that Jesus gives to us. And believe it or not, that gift is himself. The Eucharist is the body and the blood, the soul and the divinity of Jesus himself, the living flesh of Jesus. See, back in the New Testament, in the Gospels, when Jesus was hanging out with his friends, with the apostles, with his disciples, he gave them a very special promise. He said, I'm going to give you this gift of the Eucharist, myself, my flesh and my blood, but you have to eat and drink this gift. You have to eat my flesh, my body. You have to drink my blood in order that you can have life within you. And this is going to sustain you. This is going to be my gift to you so that I remain with you always. Now we're going to pause for a second and think about what that means. What comes to mind? What is your first initial reaction? I know if I heard some guy talking about you have to eat my body, take a bite out of my arm almost, drink my blood, that'd be kind of odd. It'd be very, very weird, kind of strange and scary because I would want to run from that guy in the other direction. And in fact, some people actually did. So they started to walk away from him saying, okay, Jesus, he walked on water, that was cool. He fed all of us with the loaves and the fishes. That was neat, but now he's just crossed the line, so I'm going to head out, okay? So imagine yourself in that position. And so everybody starts to leave, and then the disciples say, well, Jesus, people are leaving. You can see this. They're not really agreeing with this. What is this teaching you're talking about? And he doesn't say, well, I was just kidding, guys. Come on back. It was just a symbol. It was just a metaphor. So what is it that Jesus is actually getting at? Well, the Eucharist, like I said, is Jesus' actual body and blood that he gives to us freely every time we go to Mass. And when we go in to receive the Eucharist, it's for us to be sustained. This fancy word that means he's going to remain with us to give us strength, to make us strong, to help us to love him so that he can love us. Because we're told that when we receive the Eucharist, when we receive communion, we become one with God. We become one with Jesus. Now, why is that? Well, you think about it, when you take the host, the communion host, and it's placed on your hand or on your tongue, and you chew it and you swallow it, it becomes part of your body. So the body of Jesus becomes one with your body. And that's physical, yes, that's biological, that's how the body works with food, with all food. But there's a spiritual side to it too. When Jesus, before he ascended into heaven after he rose from the dead on Easter and ascended 40 days later, he said, don't worry, I'm going to be with you always, even to the end of time. And we know that through the sacraments. We know that especially through the Eucharist. And so there's a physical side to it that we eat this real food and this real drink, but there's a spiritual side that this is Jesus's body and blood, yes, but his soul and his divinity. The very life that Jesus has, that new life from the resurrection on Easter Sunday, is given to us freely. It's so that we can take it in and to contain within ourselves that same love, that same mercy, that same grace, all these different gifts that Jesus has to give us, we take into ourselves and become one with it so that we can open ourselves to it. And so that's what basically the Eucharist is, and it's this very special promise, this very special gift, like I said, that Jesus instituted mainly through the Last Supper. And maybe you've heard that story before. Right before he was arrested and taken away and crucified and died, he had this meal with his friends, his disciples, his apostles. They went to the upper room, and the banquet was all prepared. They sat at this big table, and Jesus said, okay, here's this bread. Take it and eat it. This is my body. Okay, so the disciples did. Now take this wine, drink it, because this is my blood. Okay, so they do this, and they're probably still wondering, like I mentioned later, what is going on? what is this body and blood that he's talking about? Is this real? Is this really true? But as Catholics, we believe that yes, it is truly Jesus' living body, his flesh, his living blood that gives us life. And we take that into ourselves. And when he gave that to his disciples in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 26, if you want to look it up with your parents, it's the story of the Last Supper. And Jesus instituted or established or brought into being, made the sacrament of the Eucharist for always, until the end of time, until all of heaven and earth are brought into one in the new heaven and the new earth in heaven with Jesus. And so this is a sharing of a special meal, a special sacrament, a special promise that Jesus gives to us freely so that we can partake and become one with him. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do it after you watch this video, after you discuss it with your classmates or whoever is watching this video with you, what I want to encourage you to do is, as a family with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, cousins, aunts, and uncles, whoever is at home with you, I want you to list 3 things that you and your family do when you share a meal. What do you talk about? What do you laugh about? What kind of sorrows or joys do you share? And then take all of that and think of how you can share that with Jesus the next time you share this special meal with him in the Eucharist. When you go to receive communion at church, at Mass here at St. Margaret or at St. Thomas, what are these things that you can talk to Jesus about? I'm very happy and joyful about this, Jesus. Thank you for this gift that you've given me. I'm sorrowful because, well, I have a friend that's doing this that I don't really like, or I haven't been feeling well, or someone is sick that I love. What are these things that we should be honest about with Jesus to bring to him to truly, like I said, make us one with him in the Eucharist? And so I hope something that I've said recently in this video has shed some light on the Eucharist, or, kind of given some insight into what communion, what this great sacrament of the Eucharist actually is for us as Catholics. And so with all that being said, I invite you to take this seriously, get your friends, your family, your parents, and go to Mass together and to receive as a family the Eucharist.